Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Where's the game? Oh, there it is. Oh, that's loud. Is that too loud, guys? This is really loud. How do I make this quieter? Oh, maybe it'll be okay in the actual game. Hold on. We'll do it like this. Okay, how's that? Feels like you can kind of like hear it through my microphone. It's a bit loud. There we go. Yeah, that's right. Welcome to the stream, Yurika and Eagle. Welcome, welcome. So, today we will be continuing Raging Loop, and let me see if I can recap what happened last time. So, last time, I guess that's from the beginning of the story. We are this guy here, this guy who looks like Kyo, but I don't remember his name. Main character guy. He broke up with his girlfriend, and then he takes a trip to just like get away from it all. But he ends up in like the middle of nowhere, and he needs to find a place to stay. And the only place he could find was this village that was isolated and not even on the map for some reason. And the village is like super weird. They have strange rituals, and apparently they have this lore where their god sent like some animal spirit helpers. There's like a monkey, a spider, and a bird or something, and a wolf. And in this village, the tail gets corrupted, and the wolf actually ends up possessing people, I think. And they're like shapeshifters, so you can't tell who is a wolf and who isn't. And slowly they try to like kill the villagers. And what the villagers have to do is they have to basically lynch who they think is the wolf. So it is Among Us, but more accurately, it's based off of Werewolf, very loosely. And what just happened was the first turn of the game, of the Werewolf game, happened, and they decided that the person who is who has the ability to protect. Oh, it wasn't a bird, it was a snake, I think. Ain't no way the little girl is not a werewolf. Werewolf game, yeah. So I think it was the spider. The spider has the power to protect one person, and so they decide the person who claims to be the spider revealed themselves right away and said, "I'm the spider." And everyone agreed that the spider would protect the most suspicious person, who would be the guy from the other village. Spider protect, snake detect. Oh yeah, the snake. You need the snake to figure out if the person that you lynched was a werewolf or not. So they decided to lynch nobody and just protect one guy. So now we know that like one guy is guaranteed protected, basically. And one other person is going to die, probably. That wasn't a very good recap, but if you want a better recap, you can just watch the stream before, the one that's number one. Okay, May 14th, Wednesday. What? As I woke up and tried to move, my head rubbed against something tough and then smacked into the doorknob. I writhed in pain. What was going on? Did I fall asleep against the door? Was I more tired than I thought? I was glad I didn't die and all, but this was a failure in my eyes. Sleeping in an unnatural position made my whole body hurt. I wobbled over to my fully charged phone. It was 6 o'clock. That was early morning for me. I'd have loved to just go back to sleep, but I was too curious about the feast. So the feast is the game. After washing my face with hot water and putting on my shoes, I decided to take a peek through the mail slot. Outside, I saw Chiemi standing there with a knife in hand. What? I reflexively stepped back, tripped, and fell on my ass. What the hell was that? There was a woman standing before my room with a weapon. I'd only caught a glimpse, but that was enough to conclude that I was dealing with a scene straight out of a horror movie. What could have prompted this? Did she suspect I was a wolf? Or was she a wolf herself? She knocked on the door, making me squeal a bit. Would she kill me if I replied? Sus. I hesitantly peeked through the mail slot and saw her hopping around, showing me her empty hands. After meeting up with Chiemi, we went around the dorm and woke up the students. All of them were all right. While they got ready, we went to the Nosato mansion just because it was close. Yasumizu was still misty and unpleasantly silent. I walked carefully, just like yesterday morning. I couldn't write off the possibility that a werewolf would jump out of the mist and tear me apart. It'd be over for me. I was walking ahead, dragging Chiemi by the hand, careful about where I was going. If something happened and I got eaten or something, Chiemi could either fight back or run away. Of course he's gonna be safe. He was protected by the spider. We peered through the mist, and a gloomy frown appeared. Then why did we bother protecting you? You could have just holed up and then maybe you'd be fine. Okay, that's not gonna work because then the werewolf would be let inside too. He's a coward. Really? I was beginning to think this guy was best described as all bark, no bite. Though prideful and vain, he wasn't as smart as he claimed to be, as shown by his inability to take charge of the feast. Also, his fussy attitude was probably just him making up for his fear. It was entirely possible he was just putting on an air, and that the mystery of Yasumizu, or rather Fujiyoshi, was actually scaring him. Anyway, we went downhill and met up with the students. Is that what you're thinking? Haru Makishima was acting weird. Mochi was definitely expecting a retort from her. She didn't say anything, and her face was so pale you could tell through the mist. Hanging her head, she was slightly shaking. Maybe she has an idea of who's dead. Everyone else could see it too, but no one chose to address it. Questions would quickly become suspicions after all. Perhaps she was a wolf and did something horrific last night? As we all thought similar things, she suddenly collapsed to the ground.
ハルちゃん。
Maybe she thinks everyone else is a werewolf? Her hoarse scream shocked everyone.
ハルちゃん。
Anya, Hirashai, welcome to the stream.
兄ちゃん、違う。ごめん。だけど、今は。
そうだよね。神経質にもなるよ。足元に気をつけて。
We then slowed down. Haru-chan, not touching anyone's hands, was at the rear of the group. As we walked, trees and stones drifted in and out of visibility through the surrounding mist. Our vision was so limited, it felt like the world around us was changing with every step we took. A tunnel of trees, a path on the paddy field, a stone platform, a concrete stairway. We walked between realms every passing second. I was still wondering about Haru-chan. What was on her mind? Was she afraid? Or wary? After descending for a bit, we arrived at the plaza.
みんな無事ね。
She might be having regrets being a werewolf. Takumi Muro. We met 2 more people in front of the dining hall.
ご老人方は朝寝坊かね。
ばあちゃんは身支度中だ。体調が良くねえらしい。これから来てねえ連中のところを回る。キヨ、お前はついてこい。
なぜ君が私に命令する？
So, who are we missing? We're missing the 2 elders. I guess we know that the grandma is safe. And the grandma is with the grandpa, so that means that probably the grandpa is also safe, right? Otherwise they would have said something. Then that leaves the priestess and the little girl. Maybe one of those 2 were killed by the werewolf.
男手がいるかもしれねえからだ。不妻子、悪いがあんたも頼むぜ。
This was the first time he'd ordered me to do something, but it wasn't a situation where I could be happy about him relying on me.
ええ、もちろん。
He probably had a bad feeling. Namely, that he wouldn't be able to rely on a certain someone ever again. As I passed by Kaori-san, I heard her whisper,
あのね、安永、ちょっといい？
何？母さん。
義継を探してほしいの。
Oh,
離れにいないようだから。
the elder! Everyone probably had a bad feeling about this. The 3 of us guys checked the houses. Yasunaga-kun, Chiemi, and Mochi walked around the settlement. We agreed to split up and start searching. The misty village was silent. I couldn't hear anyone chatting. I'd seen these buildings from the outside, but it was my first time actually walking in. The shabby buildings, built using blackened planks, were more or less buried in the vegetation. Some were on the verge of collapse. The way their frames jutted from the mist reminded me of the carcasses of giant beasts. I walked on a line between the grass. A footpath, surely. I often heard something small jump in the grass. It was probably just some bugs or frogs, but it still made me flinch.
リカ子さんはここに住んでいるのだったか。
ああ、そこんちだ。
くそ。なんだって彼女がこんな場所に住まねばならん。
お前が知らねえんだったら俺らが知るわけねえだろうが。身車あたりの指図じゃねえのか？
私が知る限りでは、彼女が休みずに移ったのは自主的とのことだがね。第一必要がない。
Oh.
ひょっとしたら霧が立つんで魔除けのまじないでもしに来たんじゃねえか。無駄だったがよ。
室匠、私ならともかく彼女相手にあんまり口が過ぎるんじゃないかね。相手は上藤吉の長者の正統だぞ。
So they're talking about the priestess?
知るか、ここは安水だ。あいつ自分で言ってたろうが、宴になりゃみんな食われんだよ。
Everyone gets eaten.
リカ子さん、リカ子さん、ご無事ですか？
Apparently, Takumi-san didn't like the Uematsu family, or the four-head families in general. Now that I thought about it, though she wasn't as disliked as Kiyonosuke-shi, the villagers in general weren't fond of Rikako Uematsu. It seemed like a pretty obvious outcome though. Yasumizu was the settlement for the ostracized. It was impossible for a member of one of the head families who openly spurned them to form a good relationship with the locals. Rikako-san emerged before too long. She was wearing her usual strange getup, and she didn't seem any different from how she looked yesterday.
メイコを連れて行きませんと。
We moved on to the next house. It felt like Rikako-san was urging me, so I woke the girl up.
メイコちゃん、朝だよ。
Well, I couldn't imagine Rikako-san raising her voice, while the other two probably didn't feel like they had to get involved with the girl. After a few calls, she finally came out, still half asleep. That confirms, I'm pretty sure that confirms that the grandpa was the one who got taken by the werewolves.
よかった。
キヨ、二人を食堂まで連れて行ってやれ。
リカ子さん、こちらへ。足元に気をつけて。
はい。
She was apparently trying to get my attention, so I turned around and said yes.
ごめんなさい。
Her sudden apology left me completely confused. She then departed alongside the other two, leaving me alone with Takumi-san.
いいんですか？清之助さんがいなくて。
どうせ役に立たねえ。植松の坊主もどきがくたばってたら運ばせようと思ってたけどよ。もう誰がやられたか分かったから。
Yeah, simple deduction.
まだ狼じじい氏の可能性も。
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that guy.
適当言うな。おやっさんが生きてたら誰より早起きしてとっくに休みずを3週くらいはしてるっつうんだ。
That's true.
すまねえ。奥野がおやっさんの家だ。
I followed him in silence. I couldn't think of anything to say. The fact the door was unlocked made it clear that something wasn't right. The moment I opened it, my nostrils were assaulted by a smell I'd experienced just yesterday. The reek of a fresh corpse. Unlike Takumi-san, who was looking away and cursing, I did my best to burn the scene I witnessed into my memory. I felt like to avert my eyes would be disrespectful, and chided myself for wanting to look away. This body was much more intact than Mamiya-san and Hashimoto-san's. That made it much easier to become painfully aware of the fact that this was a human, an intelligent life form who was with us yesterday like it was no big deal. There was one problem though. The part of the body that used to be the head was completely destroyed. There was no part of the head left untouched. It was that thorough. It was obviously the result of relentless, heavy, blunt attacks. Heavy, blunt attacks? Don't the werewolves have claws? Everything above the neck was just a strange, flat mass of shattered skull fragments and white and red organic matter. Compared to it, everything else was largely unharmed. The old-looking clothing and the unexpectedly robust chest for someone his age were all the proof needed to know that this was the body of Kanzo Makshimashi. Hit him with a brick? They're werewolves, they don't need bricks. And they can't, like, punch, right? Like, you can't punch if you have claws.
片付けるんですか？
当たり前だろ。
少しだけ時間をください。
どうする気だ？
できる限りのことを調べます。
Since we had no idea when we could get out of here, protecting the scene of the crime for an official investigation meant we had to leave this body to rot here, and we just couldn't do that. And considering the horrible state it was in, the villagers probably wanted to take care of it their own way as soon as possible. Not much I could do to stop that. Thus, I did my duty as someone without such obligations. This corpse was completely unlike the ones from yesterday. I guess the reason for that is the one from yesterday was the curse, or I don't remember what it's called, but it was because they didn't protect the rules, right? It's not because of the werewolves. While those two were destroyed completely, the damage on this head. The weapon clearly wasn't sharp. They'd used something blunt. The skin on his face was torn, but not sliced apart, and the skull was shattered. This was caused by repeated blunt attacks on the head. It wasn't my job to picture whether there was some profound grudge in this. The only clear thing here was that the wolves killed him using something blunt, not claws or fangs. And it was obviously done with dedicated intent, not accidentally. At the very least, the entity that made this corpse wasn't the same as the one that made the ones from yesterday. It made sense if you separated them and assumed that yesterday's was the corruption and today's was the wolves. The corruption, yeah, that's what it was called. Unless it's the other way around. The other way around? What do you mean? Or the werewolves aren't actually werewolves, just like symbolically? But the thing I'd seen when I was walking around at night that time had the appearance of a wolf. Or rather, a werewolf. If the werewolves were the ones bringing the corruption, the tale all this was based on would make even less sense. If the corruption was Great Lord Shinai's punishment, it'd be weird for it to be delivered by the wolves. Holding back my nausea, I looked back at the corpse. Then I rolled back my sleeves and reached for the destroyed head.
おい、何を。
ないと思いますが、一応調べます。
The image looks like a guy wearing a wolf hide hood to me. Decapitation meant body doubles. Mystery Writing 101. If someone brought in and killed a person with a similar build to Kanzoshi's, then left him here, his death could easily be fake.
肝臓さん、下顎に銀歯ありました？
いや、ねえよ。
His voice was strangely forced. I looked at him and realized he was kind of pale. I might have overdone it. Still, I couldn't be soft in this situation.
おやっさんは60過ぎて差し歯も何にも入れてねえの自慢してたから。あったのか？
いえ、誘導を避けるための質問です。健康な歯がびっしりですよ。
なんだよ。
The lower jaw was mostly intact, while the upper one was destroyed along with the rest of the head. Despite that, I saw a hint of the old man in the eyebrows and the dark hair with streaks of gray in them. It was pretty clear it was the one and only Kanzo Makshimashi, so it was probably pointless to keep thinking about the way he was injured. Okay, so it's not a body double. He's on some Conan level shit. He's pretty smart, or like well versed in this kind of literature. My hands were all messy. I'd have to wash them later. The corpse aside, Kanzoshi was lying on some thin bedding, and there was no sign of a struggle. He was either instantly killed by the first attack, or knocked out, laid here, and then killed. Still, it wasn't a corpse that was easy to make. The situation here was peculiar. One point I found curious was the fact that Kanzoshi surely obeyed the shelter law and locked himself in. However, the lock on the door was still perfectly intact. So logically speaking, Kanzoshi had opened the door and let the culprit in. There was no sign of resistance, so it was probably done by someone he felt safe with. However, if this was a normal killing by the standards of the Feast of the Yomi Purge, then this was definitely made possible by something unnatural. Back to the situation at hand. The futon and everything around it were bloody, obviously, but there was another strange thing about the crime scene: the dampness. Some spots were really wet, and clearly not because of the mist. It was like the murderer purposely spread some water here. Were they trying to wash away the blood splatter on them? But there was no point in doing it in front of the body. The footprints were faded. Were they trying to cover their tracks? They were still pretty visible though. It was more like they put bloody footprints on a futon and tatami that was already wet. Wait, they left footprints? What do the footprints look like? The shape of the prints told me they weren't made by Western shoes, Japanese clogs, or wild beasts. They were just long ovals, reminiscent of those made by Zori sandals. There weren't many of them though. Most of the blood was absorbed by the futon. But from what I had, I could tell there was only one type of footprint. One type of footprint? What about sets? Was there only one set of footprint?
何か分かったのかよ。
大したことは。
だろうな。あんた別にそっちの専門家じゃねえんだろ。
Alright, time to measure everyone's feet. But it was the footprints came from clogs, right? Or not clogs, but sandals? Yeah, maybe you could figure out by their feet size.
残念ながら。
But that's strange. They didn't have beast footprints. And the death was like man-made. Not man-made, but like it didn't seem like a werewolf kind of killing. So what was that we saw when we died the first time? All I knew was that the culprit was a very dangerous human. As I washed my hands, Takumi-san removed the sliding door and put Kanzo-san's remains on it. He covered his destroyed face with a nearby hand towel and prepared to carry it.
後ろ頼む。
了解です。
We lifted it up, and yeah, this was definitely a job for two people. We went out into the mist.
皿長に捨てるんですか？
ばあちゃんはそうしろって。
そうしなければ汚れると。
ああ。
A voice devoid of life. I couldn't call out to him. Pushing him any further was dangerous. I could tell by the air about him.
俺のせいだ。
どうしてです？
俺が宴でヘマやったから。
True. He should have protected him. That was entirely possible. This proved he was aware of it himself. I would have said that, but it felt wrong.
僕にはよくわかりませんが。
The wet tatami mat, though, did they like drown them then decapitate? If they drowned him, maybe they had like a rope on his neck or something. Like, I'm trying to think that if it was done by like a human and there was no supernatural occurrence, there's not very many people who are strong enough to have a struggle with him. Like, only Takumi Muro, probably.
少なくとも匠さんがご自分なりにベストを尽くそうとされてるように見えますよ。
だからって失敗したら何にもならねえ。
じゃあ取り返さないとですね。これからは多分あなたが安水をまとめていくことになる。
俺には無理だ。
Well, I couldn't either. I was just an outsider, so I had no idea how to console him. Feeling powerless, we approached the dining hall. We'd pass by here and go straight for the graveyard. Tae Yamawaki-san had come out too, she in the midst of prayer. Kaori Oribe-san was standing next to her. She looked completely out of it. Rikako Uematsu was covering Meiko's eyes and looking straight at me. Haru-chan, Kanzo's actual granddaughter, was watching her grandfather's corpse with an intense expression. It probably wasn't good to make any assumptions here, but I couldn't help it. I felt like her expression was full, not of unbearable sorrow, but of anger, hatred, and disgust. I'd never seen them have a nice chat, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't see eye to eye. But still, I'd have liked it if she made a different expression, if only for this moment. I could only think that because I was an outsider who didn't know shit. It wasn't good to make assumptions. Shit. Why was I in this position? Just how much could I even learn in my position? But as it turned out, I was still underestimating the situation.
ヨシ君がどこにもいない。
We met Chiemi on the way to the graveyard. She and the two high school guys were still searching, but the mist made it extremely difficult. Where did he go? Suspicions of her being a werewolf are rising. Maybe she killed him under the guise of being a werewolf? I'm not sure. We told her we'd join once we buried Kanzo-san and picked up our pace. Buried as in sent him into the river. The graveyard wasn't that far. Yasumizu wasn't very big. It only felt like it because of the mists or the load. The old man who cried wolf. It's this guy. I'd completely forgotten about him. He was alright too, huh? I had no idea why, but he was looking at us, clapping and laughing. That meant that Yoshitsugu Oribe-kun was the only one we hadn't seen yet. I was told there'd only be one. The wolves were supposed to kill only one person per night. Not saying a word, I hurried to finish the job. What if she's not a werewolf, but she just killed him? What if the werewolves killed Yoshitsugu? That led to us finding him early. Yoshitsugu-kun was on the shortest path to the cliff, in the grass of the graveyard. Though Takumi-san had only noticed him by chance, that was how deep in the grass he was, and how many pieces of him there were. It reeked of death too, but it was mixed with the smell of trampled grass and a strange beastly odor. These are the werewolves! He died by the werewolves! What happened to Kanzo then? Maybe not all the blood around here was his. Unlike Kanzo-san, he left clear proof of a tough battle and intense pain.
よしお前根性あったよ
Takumi-san's voice was shaking. He picked up a soccer ball-sized object. Was that his head? Half eaten and basically a shadow of what it used to be. It clenched its teeth, even in death.
いいですか
Takumi-san gave it, Yoshitsugu-kun's head, to me, and I put my finger in its mouth. I was curious about what was stuck in there. What I found was a clump of beastly fur. He literally fought tooth and nail, resisting until the very end. He tried to bite the werewolf back. That's what the main character tried to do. He tried to bite... He was thinking he would bite the werewolf if he got caught. So the first two were murdered by werewolves? I thought the first two were murdered by the corruption. He's too calm. Yeah. But he's used to it, is what they said. Resisting what? Obviously the being that brought the corruption. Oh, did he go outside? It didn't take long for the news of Yoshitsugu Oribe's death to spread across the village. I'd heard that the pain of losing one's child was beyond any description. Even so, Kaori Oribe-san broke down so badly it felt abnormal. The mild-mannered woman became a mad beast. We had to band up to keep her from running to where we found Yoshitsugu-kun's corpse. We'd already gathered it up and thrown it into the Saranaga after all. Takumi-san kept a tuft of the boy's bleached hair, which he gave to Kaori-san. She instantly put it in her mouth. Through her wailing and choking, she did her best to chew and swallow it. It was a wretched, gloomy, and miserable sight. Yoshitsugu is the glasses dude? But it said bleached hair, so I think it's the punk dude. Though it might have been an act born of ultimate motherly love. Whatever the case, no matter the shape, it was too late to try and bring her child back into herself. Not to mention absurd and pointless. That was how it looked like in my eyes.
宴をしよう。おやっさんとよしをやったやつをどうにかしないと。
His words got the attention of basically everyone present. But they didn't reach the sobbing mother and her older son, who was gently consoling her. Yoshitsugu-kun. Why did he have to go against the laws? Oh, he died from the corruption. His efforts and death had only worked to corner not just his mother, but everyone else here. It was useless. He'd gotten some weird fur for us? No one, not even me, had any doubts about what we were dealing with here. Wait, that is strange. A situation where everyone was desperate, acted on their own accord, and didn't know how to use their lives well, was basically the worst. If you're eviscerated, then it's corruption death. And apparently this line of thinking I'd had would foreshadow the next turn of events.
はるちゃんがどっか行った？
Shit, why was everyone in such a hurry to do the worst things possible? Chiemi Serizawa, Chikamochi Kamoshida, Takumi Muro, and I went out to search for Haru Makishima. Kaori-san showed no signs of calming down, so Yasunaga-kun stayed with her. Hyonosuke-shi refused to come, arguing that it could be bad if there wasn't enough manpower around the dining hall, and he wasn't wrong about that. It wasn't unlikely that some fur-covered murderer or Haru-chan's kidnapper was still around. To prevent any surprise attacks or accidents, we split into pairs. We were given a hoe and a sickle for self-defense.
気をつけてね、二人とも。
やばいことになったら全力で叫べ。低く大きい声でな。
了解です。よろしくな、モッチー。
キリキリ働くぞ、ハッサン。
The skirt would have made the search harder for him, so he'd changed into his school uniform. It wasn't cut out for the job either, but he had no other clothes. At least it was better than a one-piece dress. He seemed to enjoy wearing girls' clothing, so changing into the uniform was probably his way of showing he was serious about this. He kept his easygoing tone of voice, but I felt like there was gravity in his eyes too. He might have been pretty shaken.
はるちゃん！
はるちゃん！
We walked around Yasumizu, shouting until our throats became dry. We checked every bush, all the patches of tall grass, and behind every tree. We even searched the water around the paddy fields, but it didn't feel like we were any closer to finding her.
彼女はどうしたと思う？
わからん。自分のじっちゃんが死んでショックだったのかも。
いや、その前だ。朝から何かおかしかったろ。
そうだっけ？
彼女、ちょっと潔癖症なところがある。
潔癖？
汚いものとか行為とか、そういうのを嫌う感じ。最初に会った時からそんな感じはあったかと思うんだけど。
Danny Mia, Hirashai, welcome to the stream. What's up? How's the game? The game is very interesting right now. We're right in the meat of it, to be honest.
というか安水で一番怖がりなんだよね、はるちゃん。
Scaredy cat, huh?
昔話の汚れとか昔からすごく怖がってたし、ある意味汚れるのを嫌がってたのかも。
なるほど。
Fear based on superstition. That made sense, but why had it suddenly gotten worse? What happened last night?
だからはるちゃんが狼でも誰も殺したりできないと思うんだな。
君はそう考えてるのか？
はるちゃんが狼かどうかは別として、もし狼でも無理だろうって言っておる。
慎重だな。君らしくもない。
僕自身のことじゃないからね。
君とまで腹芸をやりたいわけじゃないんだ。はるちゃんについて何か考えがあるなら言ってくれないか？
何を疑ってるのか僕には分からんけど、僕の中でははるちゃんはやっすんと同じかそれ以上に大事なもので、それ以外何にも大事じゃないんだよね。だからとっとと探そうよ。
正論だ。
But no matter how hard we searched, we saw no sign of her. Where did she go? She could have been hiding somewhere, or maybe she'd collapsed. But I was beginning to entertain another idea.
彼女が安水を出た可能性は？
I asked, knowing everyone would deny the idea.
相当考えにくいけど。
霧の安水は黄泉の国とつながってんだってばあちゃんは言ってる。だから出ようとしてもあっちに迷い込むだけだと。
まああと単純に危ないよね、山の中は。
その心情は承知した上で聞きますが、それでもあえて彼女が村を逃げ出したとした場合、彼女にどんな心境の変化があったと考えられる？
Like, perhaps if she murdered her grandfather? Everyone fell silent. They couldn't even imagine it. It was like their brains had stopped working. If she'd actually wandered out into danger, then we'd wasted too much time searching for her in the village. I had to hurry, so I didn't hesitate to use some big assumptions that bordered on chicanery. What does that mean?
彼女にとってこの村が、あるいは人が、もはや信頼できる場でないとすれば、
どういうこと？
深夜あるいは早朝に彼女は何かを目撃したのかもしれません。あるいは何らかの証拠に気づいたのかも。自分のよく知る人物が狼になって人を平然と殺した。その事実を確信できるような何かにね。
The use of trickery to achieve a political, financial, or legal purpose. So he's like trying to like word game them into revealing something, or like realizing something on their own. Like he has an idea that he wants everyone to like come up with themselves, so he doesn't. If he tried to say it, they'd just deny it, right? Everyone gasped.
彼女は若いし、不安定なところもある。安水は狭い社会だから、心の拠り所が失われれば、居場所がないように感じられてもおかしくないし、苛烈な性格である春ちゃんなら、一念発起して脱出を試みる、なんてことも考えられるんじゃないか。
説得力あるな。
しかしならどうする？諦めろっつうのか。
That was the thought of someone from Yasumizu.
僕は汚れてもいいからはるちゃんを探しに行く。
And that was the thought of someone from Yasumizu, who had a few screws loose.
そんなわけで、外出に抵抗感のないよそ者である僕も行きます。
だからそれ止めるって言ったよね。
大丈夫。ヤバそうだったらすぐ引き返す。あるとすれば、皿長方面のはずないから、通学路側を探すことにする。それに、大人が子供を見捨てるわけにはいかんでしょというやつで。
ハッサン。
we earned some points with Mochi.
反論しようがないよ、そんなの。
もちろん、彼女がまだ休みずにいる可能性は十分ある。二人は引き続き 集落内を探していただけますか？
任せてくれ。
危なかったら絶対逃げてよ。
Our MC is pretty smart,
ハッ
huh?
サンさっき言ってた話さ、
どれ？
ハルちゃんが何かを見たから誰も信じなくなって逃げたって話。
うん。それが？
多分本当じゃないよね。
さあ、僕はあくまで可能性として言ったに過ぎないが、本当かもしれないとは思ってるよ。
例えば僕やヤッスンが牙とか生やしてうろついてるのを見たとか。
まあ、それも可能性だね。
なんていうかそうじゃない気がする。
Yeah, because she would just be holed up, right? Because she's so scared of the supernatural, she's probably just going to be like at home.
ただの勘かい。
そうただの勘だけど、それで言えばこの読み意味の宴ってさ、そういう方法で狼を見つけらんないようにできてる気がする。
夜出歩けないから目撃ができない。一箇所に固まって相互監視もできない。警察を呼べないから科学捜査も無理。おまけに全部霧の中で、何が何だかわからないうちにことが進んでいく。
Yeah, they've got all of the hazards on. They've got the lights, right? All of the sabotages. The mist sabotage on deck.
だから、そういう証拠とかじゃ、狼を見つけられない。
How could the players send people to be hanged without the slightest bit of material evidence? If you ignored the weird guardian powers, it was all quibbles, agitation, sophistry, emotional arguments, connections, popularity, basically the power of communication.
よくわからんけど、そんな感じでちゃんとできてるんじゃない？
Nothing was certain. They were put in a dangerous argument, with their only weapon being their eloquence. It was a feast of doubting, hurting, and eventually killing one another. If there was such malice behind this, then Chikamochi Kamoshida had a point.
もしや君は探偵タイプなんじゃないの？
え？いやー、それは休んだな。もしかしたらやつはもういろいろわかってるかもしれないぞ。
I'd have to talk to him then. We arrived at the mountain pass separating Yasumizu from the rest of the world. The large stones at the sides were like tori without a top. They might have had a religious significance.
別に、ここから一歩でも出たらアウトなんてルールはないよね。
宴から逃げちゃダメだっていうのはあるけどね。
We were going out to find Haru-chan, so we were good. Ignoring the fact that Haru-chan was breaking that law, we passed between the stones. But we soon had to stop. The path was blocked by a landslide. According to Mochi, despite being pretty rocky, the ground in this area was strangely fragile, so landslides weren't that uncommon. There had been some pretty bad rain 3 nights ago, hadn't there? If that was related to the mist's appearance, it wasn't unlikely that we'd get both the mist and this landslide at the same time. Despite that, this felt just a bit too convenient. I had to consider the possibility that the people in the settlement above blocked the road to keep the Yomibito from getting through.
ハッサン、
これは。
There was something way more important. We found footprints in the still damp mud. It was proof that she'd passed through here. They disappeared into a small cliff that only reached up to my shoulders. She had to have climbed up and disappeared into the forest.
急ごう。
だな。
The term virgin forest was used to describe forests that were still untouched by mankind, letting nature have complete control over it. Many of the cedars here looked imported, so that term probably didn't apply to this one. Then why'd you bring it up? However, it wasn't intended to whatsoever, so the words natural or undeveloped definitely worked. Okay. There were many fern saplings on the surface, a canopy of leaves above, and a thick mist all around. It certainly didn't feel like a place humans were welcome. For better or for worse, the new ferns seemed slightly trampled, indicating someone had passed through recently.
こっちだ。
気をつけなよ。彼女が迷った道でもある。
はるちゃ
なあ、大声出して大丈夫か？
山の基本。獣は声で逃げる。
True. Oh yeah, I'd almost forgotten about the very real threat of wild animals. I realized I'd lost myself in the mood and became kinda embarrassed.
はるちゃん！
返事して
Shouting over and over, we kept moving forward. She'd tried to follow the path, but all the cliffs and boulders in the way made her stray from it. 10 minutes later, we'd lost all sense of direction. Sliver of Nope, Hierashai, welcome to the stream. What did you miss? You missed a lot. So, the first thing that happened was we found Kanzo, the elder, the guy, the dude, the buff guy, in his house. His head was smashed in, and it looked like a human killed him. And then later on, we found Yoshitsugu, the blonde guy with the mohawk, and I think he died to the corruption, so he was out and like broke the rules, and his body was like chopped up into a bunch of pieces, and now we found out that Haru Makishima, the granddaughter of the old man, she ran away, and we're following her out of the village on the path to the connected village where they have school. Yeah, this place was really dangerous. Could we really find her? And even if we did, wouldn't it be too late? I was reminded of Yoshitsugu Oribe and his cruel fate. Were we about to lose yet another life? As my thoughts turned to that very real possibility. I heard some weak weeping.
はるちゃん
もっち来ないで
Does she think that she's the werewolf?
無事なのか？
お願い追ってこないで
Did she run away because she's the werewolf? I had a bad feeling about this. Something really bad might have happened to her.
待ってて。
あ、おい！
Chikamochi went after the voice with no hesitation. His body was quickly buried under all the plants and mist.
ハッサン、手を貸して。
His lack of hesitation felt dangerous in some way. Was I just imagining it? Anyway, I went after him and quickly caught up.
痛いよ
Haru Makishima was buried under all the greenery.
足だね。
I walked up and, man, this was pretty bad. Her leg was all covered in blood. Her shoe and foot were pierced by a sapling that was broken right at the bottom.
こいつを踏み抜いたのか？枝を折れるか？
無理目。抜くしかない。
傷が開くぞ。
血止め草と毒ダミが生えてる。あれで傷塞ごう。
Oh. Mochi, you're so knowledgeable.
そんなことができるのか？
のさとは薬作ってた家だかんね。
First, I'd heard of that, but I had no choice but to believe him. You've been having connectivity issues all night. Oh no, hopefully that gets better for you. She resisted verbally, but she was too tired and weakened to do it physically. I picked her up, doing my best to ignore her wailing because of the pain, and pulled her away from the branch. Chikamochi quickly took care of her wound and used a handkerchief to stop the bleeding.
戻ろう。ハッサン、担げる？
もちろん。君が追わなくてもいいのか？
なんだかな。単に体格の問題さ。
That makes sense. I thought of saying that Haru-chan would have preferred him, but she was barely conscious thanks to the pain. We didn't have time to waste on sentimentality.
先導は頼む。ミイラ取りがミイラだけは勘弁な。
戻るだけなら余裕。ただやっぱり山を抜けるのは無謀っぽい。
Agreed.
はるちゃん、よかった。無事だったんだ。
あんま無事じゃない。匠にタイバー呼んで。傷の手当てしなきゃ。
わかった。
Our return caused quite a commotion, and by the time things had begun to calm down, it was way past noon. Haru Makishima's escape attempt distracted everyone, but none of the problems were actually solved. Kanzo Makishimashi was killed by the wolves, while Yoshitsugu Oribe was taken by the corruption. Yoshitsugu-kun's death was especially problematic. Each meaningless death was yet another obstacle against resolving the feast. Even if they picked and hung someone during the day, it wouldn't guarantee that there'd be one less wolf. It was way more likely that they'd get rid of an innocent. Even worse, the wolves in the group would most likely try to leverage the hangings in their favor. They'd claim to be innocent, while casting doubt and blame on the other survivors. To win, the humans needed to do their best to see through such trickery and identify the wolves, possibly even making them confess. That was how I saw it anyway, and I was the one with the least info here. With that in mind, all humans who died by breaking the rules were actually doing the wolves a favor. If she'd actually disappeared, I'd have said the same thing about Haru Makishima, assuming she was human anyway. Perhaps someone encouraged them to break the rules? If that was the case, the wolves were ruthless, knew the rules well, and were steadily advancing towards a complete victory where all humans lay dead.
集落の有力者、あるいは今後のゲーム展開を左右するような優秀なプレイヤー。
肝臓じいちゃん、あるいはヤスくん。
And just as we feared yesterday, the wolves had silenced one of the most important people in the feast. It was hard to believe they'd chosen him just because they were scum, or because they didn't like him. The situation was really bad. Another thing to note was that Yoshitsugu Oribe's death greatly affected Kaori-san, who was responsible for everyone's meals. That was a major problem.
皆さん、お疲れ様で、
When she tried to give us tea once we returned from the search, her face was pale, and she was shaking like she was having a seizure. Despite her attempt to carry on as normal, her composure was in pieces. It was so painful I could barely watch. Takumi-san should have been supporting her, but he was just gloomily hanging his head. In the end, Chiemi had to lead Kaori-san back to her room and stay at her side. I could only hope that was enough to calm her down. However, it was nearly time to do the inevitable.
今日の宴をやると言ったかと思うが、そろそろ始めるべきではないかね。
But the supposed raven and snake died, right? What if one of them was a monkey, but a human, and the other monkey is a wolf? The supposed raven and snake. No, the supposed... We don't know who the raven and snake are. The self-declared snake is still alive. Spider? Snake? Wait, which one was protect? It's the buff dude. Takumi Muro is the protect guy. He's still alive. Kiyonosuke-shi addressed the downhearted people gathered in the dining hall.
まだ始められそうな感じじゃねえだろ。
そのまま今日が終わりそうではないかね。狼各位が本気で我々を全滅させる気らしい。これ以上指を加えて待っていれば、連中の思う壺となる。何が何でも、今日はくくるものを選ばねばならん。違うかね、ムロ。
わかったよ。安永、上の連中にまず声かけてみてくれ。
The spider and the raven haven't been revealed yet. Alejandro, Hirashai, welcome to the stream. That was where Tai-san looked after Haru-chan, and Chiemi looked after Kaori-san.
あ、僕行く。
いいよ、もっち。
いいからさ。
Chikamochi winked at me for some reason.
時間かかるかもよ。
ああ、ぼちぼちでいい。全員出なきゃまずいしな。
Oh, he's giving me time to find out more information before the feast.
します。
よろしくお願いしますよ。
Now is my chance.
安永くん、ちょっといいかい？
え、なんでしょ
弟さんのこと、残念だったね。
う。はい。そう言ってもらえて、あいつも少しは救われると思います。
随分と大人びた言い方をするんだね。
もうちょっと素朴な方が良かったですかね。
This boy was already pretty mature.
兄弟の仲はあまり良くなかった？
いえ、そんなことは。最近ちょっとすれ違い気味だっただけで、本当はあいつ、いいやつですから。
それは、僕もそう思うよ。心からグレてる子じゃなかったろうし、お母さんとの仲も？
ええ。悪い言葉を使ったりもしてましたが、義継は母のことが好きでしたし、母も多分、僕よりは義継のことを。
Oh.
ああ、いや、そんなことを聞きたいんじゃなかったんだ。ごめんごめん。
All human relations were complicated. Prying too deeply wasn't a good idea.
すみません。何を答えましょうか。
いくつかあるんだけど、主に伝説上のことだよ。
それならタエさんの方が。
もうちょっと理屈のわかる人に聞きたいところなんだ。一つ目、狼はどうして人を殺すんだと思う？
それは、かつて人間に騙されて殺された恨みで。
言い直そう。狼役の人間はどうしてかつての仲間や家族をためらいなく殺せるんだと思う？
え？ああ。
Waiting for someone to contradict themselves.
もしかして、僕やハルちゃんを疑って。
ああ、いや、ごめん、そうじゃない。一般論で考えてみて。じゃあ君が、はい、あんたは狼ですって言われて、それじゃあ仕方ないって殺人ができる？
できるわけないでしょ。
そう。できるわけない。無論、できる人間もいるだろうが、良識や恐怖からできない人間の方が多いんじゃないか？特にモッチーなんかを見てると思う。ここの人たちは特定の概念的存在に恐怖を持ってるが、それは絶対じゃない。自分の好きな人を守るためには、汚れや狼に立ち向かうことだってできるはずなんだ。
それは、モッチーが特別なんですよ。あいつ、天才だから。
天才？
ええ。普通のやつにできない予想や決断を平然とやってのけますし、本当に大事なもの以外は全部捨てられるんです。他の人はあいつがおかしいんだって言いますけど、僕はあいつのこと、天才だと思ってます。
なるほど。それには同感かも。ただ、僕が言いたいのは、君たちが汚れという魔法の一言だけで殺人者になるような人間じゃないってこと。もちろん、やらなきゃ汚れだ。最終的にやっちゃう人もいるだろう。ためらいつつ、遠慮がちにさ。ところが今回狼は、何の躊躇もなくやってる。
どこに話を着地させたいのかわかんないんですが、狼の性格や素質によるんじゃないですか。もともと人を殺すことに抵抗のない人なら、やってのけるんじゃ。
狼は2匹いるんだよね。
ええ、そのようですね。
なるほど。じゃあ聞くが、この小さな安水という集落で、2人以上の殺人者の素質十分な奴がいたか？集団の中にサイコが1人いるってより、サイコが2人いる方が確率的にかなり低いだろう。それよりは、複数の真っ当な人間を無作為に集めて、全員一致した殺人者に仕立て上げる方法があると考えるべきだ。
Like drugs?
そうでもなきゃ、こんな残酷なことが行われているのに、仲間割れが起きない説明がつかない。
そう言われると、学校の先生の受け売りですけど、思想を与えればいいんじゃないですか？
ふん？
要は、 自分たちのしていることが正しいと思えればいいんじゃないかって。
狼の行為が正しいと。なるほど。それはとても面白い考え方だ。市民に戦争させる常套手段ってわけだ。
ええ。そういう話の時に習いました。でも、夫妻子さんの考え、ちょっと偏りすぎじゃないですか。
というと？
例えば、この集落の女の人は大体奥ゆかしいし、決断は男任せのことが多いです。はるちゃんでさえそんなです。だから、狼が男女の二人で、男が主導して殺し、女は完全に言いなりってパターンもありえます。それにそもそも、今回たまたま迷いのない殺人があっただけで、いつもは多少の仲間割れはあったかもしれない。
そりゃそうだ。ただ、この読み意味の宴が大昔から廃れずに残ってるのには、何か秘密がありそうでさ。
That's true. Like, if there wasn't a thing that could do that, then how many times can this just happen and people would just do it?
絶対確実に殺させる仕組みがないといけないんじゃないかってね。その点、君の意見は面白い。
面白いって言い方はないでしょう。こんな時に。
これはごめん。不謹慎だったね。じゃあ、もう一つだけ聞かせて。
いいですけど。
さっき僕は、あえて不思議なことが起きてない想定で喋ったけど、君自身は不思議なことが起きてると思う？
考えたくないんですけど、起きてると思います。
それはどうして？神様や化け物を見たことがあるとか？
いいえ、言いづらいんですけど。
Maybe they are naturally possessed?
こんな偏僻なところに部外者が4人もいるタイミングで霧が出たところから大きな意志みたいなものを感じますよね。どう考えても人為的にこんな霧を作り出せるなんて思えない。物意味の家に平然と入って人を殺せるのだって普通に考えたら奇妙ですし、それに実際に僕らのうちの誰かが人を殺してるなら態度がおかしくなったり何か証拠を残したりするはず。その辺が説明がつかない以上不思議だって思います。
そっか。なるほどね。わかった。変なことを聞いて悪かった。ちなみに君は誰が狼だと思う？
夫妻子春明さん。
He cut me off with a stern voice.
悪いけどそれは宴ですべき話ですよ。あなたにはそれを聞く資格はないはずです。
これは失敬。
ちゃんと聞いてください。僕らは宴で意見の出し合いで一人生贄を選ばなきゃならないんです。誰が怪しいって提案することは必要だけど大きな危険も伴います。後でその発言を捕まえられてそれが決定打で殺されてしまうことがあり得る程度には。
That's
そう
true.
いうことを聞かれたら僕は誰かが悪意を持って夫妻子さんを操ってると思ってしまいます。勘弁してくださいよ。
ごもっともだ。心から謝るよ。
What if the mom killed her son? The whole eating the hair thing sticks out to me. What if one of the wolves are just like actually not from the village? I mean, what if the two wolves were just like outsiders that came from nowhere that we haven't been introduced to?
いえ、
That would be kind of lame though, huh?
僕はあなたのことを盲目的に不吉だとかは思ってませんけど、あなたが何かに関わってる疑いは捨ててませんよ。もし義継の死にあなたが関わってるようなことがあれば僕は。
どうする？
Oops. Yo, what?
僕は兄として仇を討たなきゃならない。
He'll kill me. This ritual is too important for it to be outsiders. I mean, what if they're like people from the other village?
そうか。まあ当然だね。極力疑われないように今日も檻に入れてもらうとしよ
いえ、それはやめた方がいいです。
どうして？
今日は長引くかもしれない。そうなると夕方です。寮の部屋に入って、外からつっかい棒をしてもらうのがいいと思います。
Today's feast might drag on until evening. Might be too late by then.
なるほど。そりゃいい考えだ。
This boy was really smart. If Takumi Muroshi was a Site 4-man type, he was the manager type. I could see a talent for using people.
僕からも一つだけ質問いいですか？
ああ、もちろん。
知恵姉のこと好きなんですか？
Whoa.
政治的にはそうでもないよと言うべきなのかもしれないが、そうだね。好感は持ってるね。
そうですか。
まあ彼女はオープンな人柄っぽいから言えば付き合ってくれるかもしれないな。それはきっと僕に限らず。
やだな。何か気を回してます。モッチーが何か吹き込んだんじゃないかと思ってたんです。
Mm-hmm.
僕は別にそんなじゃないです。僕が知恵姉に憧れてたのは昔の話です。近所でたった一人の年上のお姉さんに憧れてた。それだけですよ。
Really?
ジメジメガチガチな場所で知恵姉は自由奔放だったから。モッチーと同じくらいすごい人です。
昔はやんちゃだったって？
ええ。まあ人を殺しかけたりとか。
What?
ちょっと待って。
まあ事故でですけどね。ただオープンってちょっと意外です。知恵姉は結構人見知りですよ。
Really? But the first day when she invited her.
そうかな。
あるいは大学の3年間でだいぶ変わっちゃったのかもしれないですけどね。
Probably that.
だから僕はもういいんです。
なんだか君の方が変に気を回してないか？あんまり健全じゃないぞ、そういうのは。別に彼女が好きならそれでもいいのに。
今はどうにしたってそんな気分じゃないですね。
ごもっとも。
That was it, huh? Eventually, everyone gathered and went to the hall. Just as I was told, I asked for them to lock me in my room. After getting everyone, including Takumi-san and Taya-san, to understand, Yasunaga-kun, Chiemi, and I went to the dorm.
知恵姉、窓から枝に飛べる？
こりゃ無理でしょう。飛び降りたとしても戻れないし。
The two verified how secure a place this was to lock me up in. If they were the wolves, it'd be impossible to outwit them. Humans stood no chance.
そんなわけで閉じ込めちゃうよ。間に合ったら開きに来るけど、最悪明日の朝までこのままだから。
わかった。仕方ないさ。かなりきついだろうけど、無事な進行を祈ってるよ。
どうも。悪いね。こんな腐った村を心配してもらっちゃって。
僕は君を心配してるんだけどね。
わーお、嬉しい。じゃあちえみさん頑張ってきますわ。
いいですか？それじゃあ閉めますね。
ああ、君も気をつけてな、安永君。お母さんにはもう君しかいないんだから。
ええ、その通りですね。
And so the door was closed. I could hear them set up the stick. So far, the only ones I'd talked to face to face were Chiemi, Takumi-san, Mochi, and Yasunaga-kun. Just 4. The ones I hadn't talked to were Tai Yamawaki, Mikako Uematsu, Meiko, Kaori Oribe, Haru Makishima, Kiyonosuke Nosato, and the old wolf guy, a whole 7. I had no idea if there was significance in that, but I wanted to know what kind of people they all were. Yoru! Yeah, Rasha, welcome to the stream. Hello. Welcome. 4 people had already died, and if you ignored me, there were 11 left. Once the snake revealed what Kiyonosuke was, he and the snake, Takumi-san, would be the only ones with confirmed roles. The other 9 would be suspects. When one was hanged, there'd be 8, and when one died in the night, there'd be 7, which was still quite a lot. They had to hurry before it was too late. The humans had to act now.
こんにちは。
うわ、なんだ
The supposedly fixed door slightly opened up. It was Chiemi.
忘れてたけど、今日のご飯渡せないかもだから、最悪これでしのいで。
She threw me a yellow food box, the kind you could find in any convenience store.
毎日本当にありがとう。
気にしないで。
代わりと言ってはなんだけど、
お、なんだろ
猿のカゴ車は2人とも名乗り出させた方がいい。
なんで？
考えればわかるはずだ。手を打たなければ先がないことも。
The monkeys. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for the wolves to reveal themselves as the monkeys, I'm pretty sure. Unless if the monkeys are all dead. Then it would be too late.
知恵ね、何やってるの？
時間がない。行って。
わかった。
Because if the wolves revealed they were the monkeys, then the real monkeys would be, wait a second, we're the monkeys. And then that would give people the clue to like one of those 4 have to be the wolves, or 2 of those 4 maybe. If the monkeys revealed themselves, they have no bearing on the game and it lowers the suspicion pool. Yeah. She closed the door and put the stick back. All right, what next?
はるちゃん、傷は大丈夫？
平気だけど。
今聞くのもあれだけど、一体何があったの？
結構危なかったよ。
知らない。もう始まるわよ。
全員に杯が回った。読み意味の宴の始まりよ。
早速だけど、匠に昨日の蛇の神託ってのはあったの？
ああ、あった。
どうだった？
キヨは人だった。
当然私は狼などではない。これでムロと私の2人が容疑から外れたというわけだね。
Oh, right. He wasn't the protector guy. He was the investigator guy. Okay, okay.
そういうことになりますね。
The spider wasn't revealed. The protector guy wasn't revealed, but the inspector guy was. Okay, okay. I got everything mixed up.
では早速決めねばならんことをまとめよう。昨晩気の毒なことになった牧島肝臓師の方針を続けるなら。
あれ、なんでおっちゃんが仕切んの？
Let's come up with a mnemonic. I think if I forget and then like get reminded of it enough times, I'll be good.
別に年長者ということで山脇さんが進めるのでも構わんよ。
あたしはそんなん苦手じゃが。
であれば狼ではないと同意を得た私かムロが仕切るのが年功序列からしても自然ではないかね。
Okay.
たくみにおっちゃん鬱陶しいからたくみにが仕切ってよ。
Snake senses, spider secures.
いや、キヨ。
They're all S's.
ご老人が亡くなられたショックもあろう。無理はする必要ない。できる限りのことはやらせていただこう。ムロは織部夫人を気遣って差し上げろ。
あの子が。
She's still broken.
香織さん。
さて、早速提案だがね。今日は必ず一人選んでくくることとしないか。
ちょっとそれは乱暴じゃないです。
いや、それは必要だよ、知恵ね。そうでないと何日か後に確実に狼は最後の一人を殺しきる。
そういうことだ。宴には非常さも必要となる。間違っていませんな、山脇さん。
He's only saying that because he's already like secured his safety. Unless the wolves go after him.
そうですね。読み人は何としてもくくらねばならんです。
I wouldn't put it past Glasses-kun to kill as werewolf because of duty. One soul per day, now to bind.
間違えたらどうすんの？たとえ露見しなかったとしても、間違えて人を殺した事実を一生背負うんだよ。
確かにそれは気分の悪いことだが、実のところそういった死も無駄ではない。
間違えて殺したら死んだ人は無駄死にでしょうに。
目上への口の利き方に気をつけたまえ。いいかね。現状我々は容疑者を絞り込む確実な手段を2つしか持たんのだよ。安永くんならわかるんじゃないかね。
ええ、蛇による信託と
一人殺して母数自体を減らすってことでしょ。それは分かってるけども、受け入れられると思ってるんですか？
そんなの無理だわ。殺された人からしたら後でどっちが勝とうが関係ないじゃない。
だからあえてここで合意をしておく必要があるのだよ。
Why don't they talk about the old man? They don't have any information about the old man, huh? Like, only Fusaishi investigated him.
他の皆が生き残るために自分が死んでも構わないという合意をね。
それしかねえってのかよ。
そう、それしかない。なんとも悪辣ではないかね、山の掟というやつは。
Nothing like who saw him last? But everybody locked themselves in their houses. Even if you saw him last, it doesn't mean that you like killed him and then I don't know about that. That's too Among Us. You know, Among Us works on the premise that like everyone's moving around.
冗談じゃないわ。他人のためにくくられろって言われて、はいそうですかって納得できるわけない。
ああ、それじゃあ君は狼だということになるが。
なんでそんな。
That was bait.
安水のために命を懸ける気がない。つまりは安水の敵ってことですか？
そういうことになるのではないかね、安水の諸君。今こそ団結力が問われるというわけだ。
おっちゃん調子乗ってんな。
私は上藤吉の人間として、そして剣技の晴れた者としてできる限りのことを進言しているだけだ。口を慎め。
野里清之助さん、あなた自分が蛇に診断されるまでこのことを黙ってたでしょ。
何を言い出す。
昨日の時点であなた気づいてたんでしょ。死んでも文句言わないって同意を持って団結する必要があるって。でもそれを表明することで蛇に調べてもらう権利が暴騰することも気づいてた。だから黙ってたんですよ。
憶測で物を言ってるんじゃない。
でも確かに疑いが晴れた上藤吉の人間に死んでも文句言うなって言われたって納得できるわけないわ。
匠になんとか言ってやってよ。
だが言ってることは正しい。
匠に
私は賛成します。疑われることもくくられることも皆様の決定に異議は申しません。
I feel like Meiko would be like a good suspect, you know, because she kind of has like a sheep theme going on. She goes like bah. So like they could try to go for like this literary device of her being a sheep in wolf's clothing. But maybe that's too meta.
リカ子さん、
すでに申し上げました。こうなれば上藤吉も安水も関係ございません。それに私は勝手な思いですが、心は安水の一員だと思っております。
I'm telling you, the little girl is one of them. One of them? Yeah, maybe.
誰かさんと違ってご立派なお心持ちじゃないですかね。
ただこの子にそれを求めるのはちょっと酷で。みんな怖い。
しかし例外を作るわけには。
Maybe it would be too obvious, but she did come from the other side of the river. That too.
ならこの子をくくる必要があるならば私も共になりましょう。
Whoa, what is this? That's gonna make everyone not want to hang her. Maybe they're both the wolves? That would be a pretty interesting way to protect yourself. Rikako the wild
これ
card.
はダメですよ。流して余市は一日に一人だ。
Also, either the annoying dude and Muto are both innocent. Muro? Either this guy Kiyonosuke and Muro are both innocent or they're both hiding something.
私が勝手に死ねばよいのです。汚れは咎を犯した者に来る。死んでいればもう関係ありません。
そんな。
見苦しいぜ、キヨ。仕切るならしっかりしやがれ。植松の姉ち
はい。
ゃん、あんまり軽率なこと言ってんじゃねえぞ。悪いがあんたも俺らを締め付けてる上藤吉の長者どもの一人に他ならぬ。
匠、植松様に無礼は。
こうやってばあちゃんたちがビクビクする羽目になったのもあんたのお仲間のせいだぜ。仲間面されても困るんだ。
申し開きもございません。
True.
第一、あんたが安水にいる理由も不明。正直俺はこんなことになったのを誰かのせいにしたくてたまらねえ。
He really hates that. The wild card. She's not a werewolf, but she's complicating things. Maybe she is the werewolf.
匠にまさかこれが全部上藤吉の人間の仕業だっていうの？
さあな、全部かは知らねえ。ただ上藤吉の人間が俺らを常日頃ここに閉じ込めようとしてるのは奴らが何かを知ってるってことだ。
Ooh, that's conspiracy theory right there.
少なくとも宴なんて昔話で狼様は人間の味方だなんて連中の物言いは嘘っぱちだってことだ。
Like maybe they're sacrificing this village.
連中は霧が立てば安水の人間が死ぬと知ってたんだ。財産や家柄だけじゃねえ。連中は命にまで差をつけてやがったんだ。
バカだ。上藤吉の長者が聖人君主とは言わんが、少なくとも才覚と品格に満ちた真っ当な家々だ。
He's got so much pride.
まともな常識だって持ち合わせている。この科学万能の世の中で宴なんてものを本気で信じてなどいるものか。
だからじゃない？
なんだ。
清之助さんは藤吉村のそういう秘密を教えてもらってない。そうやって長者はまともって信じて吹聴する広告塔としての価値しかお家の中で認められてないから。
Damn, she's spitting.
だからこの時期の安水が危険ってことの配慮もなく里帰りの投留先としての里屋敷を強制されたみたいな。
ふざけるな。私が家に見捨てられたとでも言うのか。
ああ、ありえるね。 僕ややっすんと同じだ。
長者のやり方は残酷ですよ。権力争いの負け組や無能者、あるいは当主の気に入らないといった理由で簡単に休みず送りにされる。僕らはともかく、母は東北から樋口家に嫁いだっていうのに、父が死んだ途端に叩き出されて。
そんなの別によかった。
母さん、ごめん。刺激するつもりは。
私にはね、義継とあなたがいればそれだけでよかったのよ、安永。
とにかく僕らの命運を彼らがねじ曲げたのは間違いないんです。その点じゃ匠兄に賛成だな。
残念だったわね。来る羽目になったのがこんなところで。
Higuchi family. Should we be paying attention to family names and family trees?
安水の人が悪いと
I'm
は
not
言ってない
sure.
だろう。どうしたんだよ本当に。
どうせみんな死ぬのよ。おじいちゃんだって選ぶってたくせに結局簡単に死んじゃったんだから。こんなのやってられないわよ。どうしてあの時ほっといてくれなかったのよ。
Haru's outfit is cute. She's like all accessorized and has the one sock is longer.
あの時はそんな感じじゃなかったのに、どうしたのさ。
She's like super stressed.
もう嫌なのよ。
悲しいの。
どうしたんですか。
狼が来たら誰もが鬼になりおる。
そうですな。だからこそ読み人をくくらねば。
もうわけわかんねえな。まあいい。事実として上藤吉の連中は俺らを助けてくれはしねえさ。
道崩れちゃってたしね。
それもあるしな。で、そんな中、キヨは逆に信用していいと俺は思う。理由は千恵美が言った通りだ。
あらら、お気の毒。
勝手に何でも妄想するがいい。
だから誰かをくくる段になったら植松のは一番くくりやすいんだ。首相にしてると本気で死ぬぞ。
ではどうすれば。
誠実に知ってることをしゃべる。とにかく黙ってるのだけは最悪。丸投げもダメ。そうだろ、キヨ。
もうそのまま君が宴を進めてはどうかね、ムロ。
おやっさんの真似をしてみただけだ。柄でもね。あとは任せた。
私から提示することはごくわずかだ。
What about revealing the monkeys from Chiemi?
これから多数決を取り、最も多く票を獲得したものをくくる。
だからそれは乱暴だって。
無論何らかの申し開きができるものはそうすればよい。自分が死ぬべきでないと価値を立証できるような場合は特にだ。しかしながら自分は人間だだの死にたくないだのは不要だ。そんなもの誰だって同じなのだから。選ばれた者は潔く諦め、残りの者に安水の運命を託して神命を投げ出す。
首吊り松でくくりますかね。
それで差し支えんと思いますがね。
投票方法はどうす。
上座の者から順に指名していく。短いインタビューを行ってもよろしい。最終的に投票者が決まったら私が手元の手帳に記録しておこう。
は？記名投票？ありえない。対面で誰かに死ねっていうみたいな真似できるわけないでしょうに。
いい加減芹沢のイチャモンに付き合う余裕もなくなってきた。この辺りで進めさせてもらおう。
Grandma been real quiet. Well, yeah, Grandma and Oribe, but Oribe is like kind of still mourning.
では、こちらのお名前は？
じっちゃんだ。
狼じじいだ。
おじいさんは私が若い頃からおじいさんでしたよ。
ご老人、私の言ったことは理解されますかな。では、この中の誰が狼だと思われますか。
私なんで？
狼、怖い怖い。では芹沢千恵美さんが1票。
Oof. This is gross.
ちょっと待ってよ。本気でこんないい加減な決め方で人を殺すつもり？
仕方ないだろう。ご老人だって宴の参加者だ。発言権を奪うわけにはいかんだろう。
匠姉ちゃん、なんとか言ってよ。
安永、お前どう思う？
様子を見ます。
だな。
ちょっとそんな。
じゃあ私だね。私もちーちゃんに入れようかしら。
なんで？タエばあちゃん。
悪いね。実はあんまりわからんのよ。じゃがちーちゃんがずっと怒っとるのがちょっと変に思えてね。
他の皆が生き残るために自分が死んでも構わない。
そうね。私は同意しないわ。安水のみんなは大事だけど、自分の命だって大事だもの。
You can't vote publicly. This is how groupthink happens. That's right. Now, like, more people are going to want to vote for Chiemi.
それに私は自分が狼じゃないって知ってるし、おとなしく殺される気にはならない。けど、いいわ。そのルールに乗る。このままだとそれだけで殺されそうだし、他に方法もないのは確か。さあ、タエばあちゃん、ちえみはおとなしくなるよ。投票先変えない？
This is wild. This is wild.
じゃあいいや。さっきはちえみは怪しかったもんね。
よろしいかね。では室の番だ。
Maybe people will feel bad for her.
俺はメイコに投票する。
Oh. Yeah, okay.
匠兄ちゃん？
あなたは
理由を言う必要あるか。いくら子供でも親の名前どころか素性も言えないのはどこまでも奇妙だからだ。伝説がどこまで本当かは知らねえが、奇妙なもんが皿長から上がってくるなら同じ生き方をしたやつを怪しむのは当然だ。
I think he's just saying that and he just doesn't want to pick anybody that he knows. She still had the monkeys thing to bring up. Why is she not playing that card? That's true. Finally someone says it.
匠にそんな話が通るならこんな面倒な宴が成立する必要なんてなかったんじゃないのかな。
僕もそういう決め方ができる気はしないんだけどな。
皿長から来なくったって素性不明の怪しさは何も変わらねえよ。逆に考えてみろ。もし子供が狼だったとして、今のお前らみたいに子供だからかわいそうって理由で対処しなきゃそのまま全滅するんだぞ。分かってんのか？
That's right.
室もそれなりに考えているということだな。ではオリベ。
I missed the monkeys thing. So right before the feast happened, Fusaishi told Chiemi to tell the monkeys to reveal themselves.
牧島春さんに。
Okay.
母さん。
なんで私なんですか？
逆に言ってごらんなさいな。どうして今日逃げたりなんてしたのか。おじいさんを殺して義継を殺して気まずくなったからじゃないの。
違います。
じゃあ言ってごらんなさい。
That's actually like my reasoning too, right?
怖かったから。こんなとこにいたくなかったから。
嘘をおっしゃい。
香織さんやめろ。あいつが死んでみんなつれえんだ。 俺だってそうだ。春だってそうだよ。みんなつれえんだ。
Okay, now we're going places.
堀部さんは結局投票先をどうするのかね。では牧島春のままとしよう。次に私だが、私は本名不詳のご老人に。
Uh huh.
どういう理由で？
先ほどの応答で分かった。彼は理性的な判断を行っていない。宴には不要だ。
True. You know what? I agree with you, Kyonosuke. But also, I'm not a villager, so like I'm not particularly attached to this old man. If Haru was hurt by the death of the grandpa, then why the angry expression? True.
そんな一方的な。
彼が事前に狼が来るなどと吹聴していた。疑うに十分な事実も一方的というかね。
Is he gonna defend himself?
私は彼が完全に狂っているか、あるいは何かを知っていると見る。考えなかったかね。安水では過去にも宴は行われているはずなのだ。老人であればそれを体験しているはず。
If he was around for at least one, does that mean like he could be like one of the wolves that wiped out the entire village? Was the village wiped out? We don't even know about the history of the previous feast, just the rules. Like, we don't know about the results. It's a fair point and would save important lives for another round. You don't think he's it though?
私はないですよ。70なるまで生きて一度も。
So how old is he?
でも彼ならあり得るのでしょう。あなたよりも年上だというのですから。彼は何かを知っていて、地方のためにうまく言えないのかもしれないし、悪意的にごまかしているのかもしれない。票を投じることで情報を引き出せるかもしれない。そうでなければ彼に価値はない。
価値。この場における価値のあるなし。そんな理由で人をくくるのはいかがなものでしょう。
Morals. If you think about it like a game, Kyonosuke is right. But if you think about morality, but like eventually they're going to hang someone, right?
そうおっしゃいますな。これを進めれば明日にはもう一つ手が進められるのです。
どういうことでしょうか。
今日室にまた一人過去によって素性を調べさせれば、素性の知れた者はもう一人増える。
Right, it's suspicious that there's not more backstop revealed yet.
雲は引き続き室を守る。これを繰り返せば、たとえ全部外しても3回で全員の素性が知れる。
そうなるの？
I think the spiders should secretly not protect Muro. If they're like, they'll declare that they're protecting Muro and then maybe like secretly not protect Muro.
一日に一人
Only 3 turns?
一人狼にやられて
3 turns.
明らかになるの。
Well, if we hang someone and we lose someone, then we lose 2 people every day. It'd be like 4, 5 turns. Oh, okay. Okay, so in one day we'll hang someone will get killed by the wolves, and the snake will reveal another person. So that's 3 people. Oh, that's true, 3 turns.
一日に3人正体が明らかになる。今、匠姉ちゃんと野里さんのほか11人が人か狼か不明だから、3、4回か？
そういうことだ。くくるのを選ぶのは3回だけでいい。それならば、あえて親しいものを率先してくくらずとも 縁の薄い者から先に安水のために立ってもらえればいい。
てめえ、そんなこと。
Then it becomes a popularity contest.
私は最大多数の最大幸福を論じているつもりなのだがね。ムロ。
野里さん、本気で言ってるんですか？
何？
知恵姉の計算は、狼が蛇で調べられていない人間ばかりを馬鹿正直に狙った場合の話でしょ。
That's true.
狼が前日に正体が確定した相手ばかり殺しにかかったらどうするんです？例えば今日あなたを。そんないい加減な計算をもとにいい加減な投票をさせようって考えには僕は賛同できないです。
それにしたって君は身内を殺すことを軽く見てはないか？
僕はだから身内を殺せるなんて一言も言ってない。言えるわけがない。僕が
ああ、
まあ少々間違いがあったかもしれんが、投票はもう進んでいる。あとは各々の判断に委ねよう。次は植松里香子さんではないのか？
席順から言えば僕ですね。困ったな。判断材料が少ない。
なんでそんなに冷静なの？
冷静でないと間違ったことが起きるからだ。だからはるちゃんも母さんも落ち着いてくれ。頼むから。僕は
やすくん、ちょっと待って。こんな時で悪いんだけど、一つ思いついたことがあるんだけど。
She just remembered.
何？
猿って名乗り出てもいいんじゃない？
なぜそんなことを言う？カゴ持ちは名乗り出ない方がいいと安永君も牧島王も言っていただろう。
いや、私もそうやって何も考えずにいたんだけど、じゃあ猿って何の役に立つの？お互いのことがわかるだけなんでしょ？最初にそれが知れるだけで、その後何かがわかるわけじゃない。
そうだね。使い道って言ったら蛇を語るやつを引っ掛けられるくらいだね。
だけど考えてみれば、猿は互いに証明できるんだから、ある意味で蛇に調べられたのと同じくらい狼じゃないって信頼できるわけでしょ。
嘘ついたやつがいたら。
リスクが高すぎる。例えば私は猿じゃないけど、はい、私猿です。さあ、匠兄はどうする？
The other monkey would know.
もう一人が誰か言ってみろ。
True.
そう。でも誰も言えない。嘘だから。それでも例えば、はい、モッチーです。そう言ったとすれば。
なんでわかったんだ？
いや、冗談はいいから。まあ、証明できないわけだよね。
A snake could reveal a monkey? No, a snake would just reveal the monkey as a human. Then have them tell you who the other is. The snake only knows if you're a human or a werewolf. They don't know if you have like a role, I think.
なるほど。だが相手が乗った場合は猿になれば安全になれると思ってる。
本物の猿に名乗り出てもらって、その4人からくくっていく。
それは
嘘をついてまで生き残ろうとするのは狼。その原則ならばそうするのが正しいよね、野里さん。
That's what I thought.
確かにそうだ。その方針をきちんと立ててさえいれば、あえて猿を語ろうとする者はいなくなるだろう。
そうか。人にとっても狼にとっても危険すぎてやる価値がないのか。
これ分からない人いる？いないみたいだね。なら名乗り出てくれないかな。これで2人容疑から外せるから。
はいはーい。
何？もっち。
いや、僕が猿なんだ。
She was actually the monkey.
さっきの続きじゃなくて？
うん。イエス。僕は猿だ。
じゃあさっき言った通りだ。もう一人は誰だったんだ？
メイコちゃんだ。
Oh. Oh, huh.
メイコちゃん、そうなの？
な
あのね、昨日の日に起きたらお腹になんかなかった？
知ってるんだ、その模様のこと。
はい。信内モーデと一緒に教えて遊ばせていました。
他に猿だって人いないっぽい。
Okay.
じゃあ確定じゃん。
So, I feel like that's solid reasoning. These two are not wolves. Mochi and Meiko.
そっか。じゃあ間違いないのか。
なんだ。じゃあ俺の投票は無駄だっつうのかよ。
Just change it!
やり直してもいいと思う。
Yeah.
やり方を曲げる気か？
一度投じた票の撤回は不可能とした方がいい。土壇場で嘘をついてリセットとかキリがなくなる。
Can we just start from the beginning then?
しゃあねえな。じゃあいい。
突然言い出してごめんね。次、ヤス君の
They should just start from the beginning with the new information.
僕は狼じじいに一票入れる。理由は黙っているだけで何もしないのが間接的に狼を利しているから。
Yeah, I think so too. But you should consider this new info. Yeah.
じゃあ
Exactly.
次は僕だ。タエバーに100万票。
Whoa.
なんちゃって？
一人一票だ。
じゃあタエバーに1票。知恵姉にいきなり1票入れた。目の付けどころが怪しいもんな。
That's true.
この子は。だから若いもんはいい加減で。
You know, I can agree with that.
あ、次私か。おじいちゃんに一票。
なんだ。結局君もそれか。
黙ってて。理由は現状で他に怪しいと思える人がいないってだけ。以上。はるちゃんの番だね。
私は植松さんに入れるわ。あなたがきっと汚れを呼び寄せたんだ。
違います。私はただ己の役目を果たすために。
じゃあとっとと汚れを引き取ってよ。そうしないのはあなたが狼だからでしょ。
Grandma sus. Grandma sus. You sure?
様、いい加減にしろ。
力不足で返す言葉もありません。
あなたもこんな連中にかかずらう必要はない。リカコさんの番ですよ。きっとあなたに投じた人が怪しい。
Oh, he's trying to sway her opinion.
ロックでもないことを。
私は織部安永さんに。
あなたは。
私は疑っているわけではありません。でも思ったのです。今この場でもし狼様であるのが彼であるなら、
That's true too.
それこそが皆にとっての最悪だと。
But I don't know if that would be a reason to vote for him.
いろいろ喋りましたからね。皆さんを騙すために。
But at this rate, it would be the old man,
仕方ない
right?
かもしれません。
Oh no, it'd be tied between the old man and Chiemi.
ただ僕は間違ったことは言ってないと思います。少なくともそのつもりはない。植松さんが投票されるのは構いません。意思表示のために投票するのも大事なことだと思いますから。
狼じじい氏が3票でトップ。
Oh, he has 3.
そこの子供、最後は君だ。
メイコ、わかる？
誰が狼さんか選ぶの？
そう。
お姉ちゃん。
私？
Oh, now they're tied up.
怖い。
私はこの子の方が怖いよ。
決選投票だ。芹沢千恵美と狼じじい氏を除く9名で再度投票。
狼が来る。
再度投票の結果、狼じじい氏7票、芹沢千恵
They're not
美
changing their vote.
タエバーとメイコちゃん以外全員じいちゃんじゃん。
黙れ。 ご老人よろしいですか。
決めたからには全員同罪だ。腹くくれよ。じいさん分かってっか。
時間が欲しい。斧を片さにゃいかん。
身辺整理というわけか。そのくらいは猶予があってしかるべきかと思われるが。
I guess he knows what's happening. It's the safe move. It's the safe move for sure.
はるちゃん。
じゃあ僕がついてく。
頼むぜ。
では彼が戻ってき次第皿長への追い立てを行う。リカコさん、縄はどこへ。
こちらへ。
So this is about to be their first lynching of the villagers. It was already evening. As I whiled away the time with some fruitless contemplation, I heard noises outside that brought me back to reality. People were shouting loudly.
どうした？
I opened the window and shouted. It was facing the cliff, so I couldn't shout to the settlement directly. They probably didn't hear me since I didn't get a
何があっ
response.
た？
So I shouted even louder.
最初てめえ、そこ動くんじゃねえぞ。
Huh? Was I about to get punched?
何があったんですか？
I could only repeat myself.
今危ないんです。
It was?
どういうことなんですか？
I didn't get a reply this time. I only heard several voices clamoring. Then, I heard someone hurry up to the dorm stairs.
誰だ？
I got no response again. What was happening here? Someone was definitely close. It just made me more tense.
あ、春明さん。
また知恵み落ちか。
何それ。悪いけど今じっとしてて。ひょっとしたらやばいかも。
Her voice was cut off by a scream, though it was more like intense cursing. It was Takumi-san's voice, no doubt about it. Chiemi left without saying another word.
ちょっと開けてよ。
I fought the door, but it showed no signs of opening.
何かあったなら僕も手を貸すってば。
Shit. Like hell I was gonna stay out of the loop any longer. Poku, Hiyarashai, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's the pawn. Though I wonder if he wasn't one of the 4 guardians. Even if he was, he wasn't saying anything. So even if he was, would he even like fill his duty as the guardian? Turning around, I went to the open window and decided to try jumping out. Though I was on the 2nd floor, it wasn't too high of a drop. It'd make my legs a little numb, but so what? I jumped out without any hesitation. They told him to stay still. I properly bent my knees, so I didn't hurt myself at all. Then I ran to the settlement, where I heard the voices from. I quickly understood the cause of Takumi-san's shouting. They were cries of despair. Do a flip? The reasoning was somewhere downhill, along the way to the graveyard. It was a small grove of low trees, with a carpet of leaf mold below. It would have been very hard to see, even if there was no mist. You could hear running water nearby. I couldn't see where it came from, but it was probably an irrigation channel for the paddy fields. There was a small crowd gathered. I peeked through a space between them. There were bodies. 2 of them. One was of an old man, and the other, that of a child. Though their appearances were vastly different, each was in a similar state. They lay on the ground with their hands over their stomachs, utterly still and covered in blood. These were the corpses of the old man who cried wolf and Chikamochi Kamoshida. Mochi died? Why did Mochi die?
何があった？
不妻子、てめえ寮にいんじゃなかったのかよ。
さっきまでいました。
嘘つけ！てめえがやったんだろ！あ？
違いますよ。本当にさっきまで寮の部屋にいたんです。ちえみちゃんと話だってした。
うん。春明さんじゃないよ、匠兄ちゃん。
じゃあ誰がやったっつんだよ！
そんなことより手当ては？
無駄だ！触んじゃねえ！
手当てをすれば間に合うかもしれない。
血はすっかり全部抜けてやがる。腹かっさばかれて腹渡も出てやがる。 どんな手当てすりゃ生き返るってんだ。言ってみやがれ。あ
There was nothing I could say in response. There were 5 of us on the scene. Chiemi Serizawa, Takumi Muro, me, as well as Yasunaga Oribe, who was vomiting on a nearby bush, and Rikako Uematsu, who was watching the remains from a distance. Most were proactive, and I could see why they were here, but Rikako Uematsu felt a bit out of place. But then I remembered that we were already pretty short-handed.
何があったんだ。誰がやったんだ。畜生。
ご覧を。
She pointed to the old guy's clothes. There were gatherings of fur all over his garment. A werewolf. If that was the culprit, then this was the work of the corruption. Was that what she was saying? No. This was completely different from how the others had died. The fur proved little.
傷を見せてください。
触るなっつってんだろ。
これは明らかにこれまでと違う。
知ったようなことを言うな。これまで何も分からずじまいだったくせに。
そうやって見ることをやめてしまえば、分かるものも分からなくなる。
白々しいんだよ、よそ者。
匠兄ちゃん、落ち着いてよ。
うるせえ。こいつが来てから全部おかしくなったんだ。こいつがいなけりゃ。
It felt like he was about to grab me. I could clearly see the intense emotion whirling in his eyes. I thought I could get him to trust me, but now it was back to square one.
もち、どうしてだよ。どうして。
Yasunaga Oribe calmed down a bit and faced the remains of his dear friend. His voice was shaking. The expression on the corpse was eerily pale and emotionless. Even the look of agony was absent. What anime is this? This is a visual novel. It's called Raging Loop. It's in the title. It almost looked like he was smiling. Did his face muscles simply go limp?
これは汚れじゃない。
どうしてわかる？
どいてくれれば証明できる。
He glared at me with immense hatred before letting me
きつ
through.
い人は見ない方がいい。
I walked up to the old guy's corpse. He looked as distant as always, but the lack of blood flowing in his face simply made his appearance even more creepy. I avoided looking at it while I grabbed his back and rolled him onto it. With a wet sound and trails spilled from the wound in his stomach.
なんて。
みんな無理するな。匠さん、あなたは見てください。
The stomach was clearly torn open by a blade.
これは超自然的な天罰や何かじゃない。人間が道具を使って作った傷だ。そして凶器が見つからない以上、誰かが意図的に持ち去ったか隠したかしか考えられない。
それをやった誰かが休みずにいて、凶器もどこかに隠されてるってのか。
宴の開始から今に至るまでの流れを詳しく説明してください。
Who would have done this? And if they did this, would they be a... Do you think it's the werewolf that did this? Or do you think maybe even like a person, like a human, could do this? With several people here to tell me, I ended up with a decent grasp of how today's feast went. Kyonosuke-shi had suggested they choose who to kill by vote. The wolf guy and Chiemi ended up with the same amount of votes, resulting in a tiebreaker vote. Old man was going somewhere. Mochi was watching him. Most ended up voting for the wolf guy, sentencing him to death. Both dead now. He said he'd wanted to take care of some things, so he and Chikamochi Kamoshida went out, while the rest stayed where they were.
本当にその二人以外は外に出なかったんですか？
間違いねえよ。一応は宴はまだ続いてた。ジジイと近持ちが出たのが特別だったんだ。
二人は戻ってくる予定だった。その後宴が再開される予定だった。どう続くはずだったんです？
それはよその方にはちょっと。
I think maybe the old man was actually a wolf. So he decided to kill Mochi and himself. Because Mochi came with him, right? He had to kill Mochi And then he killed himself before being hanged so that the crow couldn't reveal that he was the wolf. So now they're not sure if he's a wolf or not. It's possible they killed themselves, but then someone else had to have hidden the blade. Yeah. Like that. So the old man does a kill and a suicide. And then someone comes out and grabs the blade and hides it.
いいでしょう。しかし2人はずっと戻ってこなかった。どれくらい待ちました？
1時間は経ってなかったろう。
その後、遅いから心配だってことで僕らが探しに出て。
But then Mochi would struggle a bit, wouldn't he?
もしないうちに見つか
Maybe
り
he
ま
got
した。
surprised? Unless he knew it was going to happen? So the culprit was one of those not present. Chiemi, Takumi-san, Yasunaga-kun, and Rikako Uematsu. The five in the hall, Nosatoshi, Kaori-san, Meiko, Haru-chan, and Tai-san simply couldn't be responsible.
数分で2人を殺害し、返り血などで汚れた服を着替え、再び戻って捜索しているふりをする。
Chiemi, Takumi-san, Yasunaga-kun, and Rikako Uematsu. Yasunaga and the old man?
不可能よ、そんなの。
捜索中、互いの姿は？
見ていません。離れて探していましたから。
They have no alibis. Now this is like Among Us. Who did you see last? Blue Truth for sure.
一旦お堂に戻りましょう。
We then went to the hall. Kiyonosuke kept watch and confirmed that no one besides the victims and the search party had left the building. That limited the potential murderers to the search party and I. I asserted that I was still in the room when it all happened, and they believed me for now. So, Chiemi provides an alibi for Fusaishi, but Fusaishi can't provide an alibi for Chiemi. God damn it, no one moved in the mist. Though Takumi continued to suspect that I used some sort of trick to escape and commit the murders. Well, that was fair, considering everyone else was with them, but I knew I wasn't the culprit. That left only one possibility.
2人はお堂を出てすぐに死んだ。その後、誰かが凶器を持ち去った。
Okay. This is where we're at.
結局、お前しか考えられねえってわけだ。
だから私が部屋にいるの聞いたって言ってるじゃん。
そこについては僕は無実を主張し続けます。である以上、僕は2人の死因は他にあると言うしかない。
Yeah, I mean, that's not gonna convince anyone.
さっきから慎重に殺人と言ってませんね。
気づいた？そう。今のところ自殺や病死、毒殺の後、死体損壊や凶器持ち去りが行われた可能性はある。
Oh.
そんなことをして我々に何の得がある？それより芹沢時様が共犯だとなれば話は極めて簡単ではないかね。
That is a possibility.
わかりませんが、僕にだって得はありませんよ。
どうだか。本当はお前たち以前から知り合いだったんじゃないのか？
違いますけど。だったとしてどうだって言うんですか？
君の悪い昔話を住人が信じているのをいいことに、化け物のふりをして殺人を楽しみに来た。
For your enjoyment.
やめてください。言っていいことと悪いことがあるでしょ。
やめなさい、あんた方。
Tai Yamaaki-san walked out of the hall. I could see Haru Makishima, Meiko, and Kaori Oribe behind her. That made a total of 10 survivors. 9 of you excluded me, who hadn't participated in the feast.
誰が近持ちとおじいさんを殺しても、それは掟に反して行われたこと。親内様は必ず 汚れをお与えになるわよ。
She put her hands together in prayer and faced the peak of Mount Shinnai at the opposite side of Saranaga. Strangely enough, that was enough for everyone to fall silent. Rikako Uematsu joined in, and Meiko copied her. This was the settlement's way of solving things. They gave up on discourse and just left it all in the hands of a higher power.
ばあちゃん、今日はどうする？
Is it against the rule? It's against the rules for the wolves to kill more than one, right? So probably suicide, and then someone hid the weapon.
もう一人分の血は流れとる。おじいさんも死んでしもうたことじゃ。宴はしまいにして片しよ
う。わかった。安永、手伝え。
They're not gonna find out. They can't use the crow's power.
僕が。
お前はおとなしくしてろ。
Okay. The situation was only getting worse. Soon after that, it was time to shelter, so everyone retreated to their houses. Takumi-san had entered my room and boarded my window completely shut.
てめえが犯人じゃないなら、完全に塞いでも何かが起きるはずだ。
True. His words were harsh, but there was a hint of composure. He might have actually believed that I wasn't the one who did it, or maybe he found peace in the idea that the mountain would punish the culprit. Or perhaps he just believed it was the work of something supernatural. Whatever the case, he was dwelling less and less on the matter. Was the wolf guy a wolf? I had no idea whether that was plausible. Assuming he wasn't, 2 of the remaining 9 were wolves. With Kiyonosuke-shi being a confirmed human, Takumi-san being the snake, and Meiko being a monkey, there were a whole 6 suspects. What if they just boarded everyone up? Thanks to my advice, Chiemi suggested the monkeys reveal themselves, and they turned out to be Chikamochi, Kamoshida, and Meiko. Though Mochi had just died, that was a heavy blow. Him being a confirmed non-wolf was one reason, but more than that, he was one of the few people here who actually talked to me without restraint. He was somewhat of an oddity compared to the rest of the people here, but I did find him to be a fun guy. I'd like to get back at whatever injustice had stolen his life. Clearing my head, I resumed thinking. Since she was acting suspicious today, Takumi-san would investigate Haru-chan. Tomorrow, we'd have only 5 suspects. That'd give them decent chances of picking out the 2 wolves. It seemed to me like it wouldn't be that hard to find the murderers, who would surely be shaken by what they had done. And then the outed wolf, not wanting to die alone, would reveal their partner. That was the most optimistic way to look at it. From a pessimistic standpoint, though, the situation was absolutely terrible. 4 people had died today. In a normal feast of the Yomi Purge, it had to be 1 person per day, 1 per night. This was double that. If things hadn't gone so well in the forest, even Haru Makishima might have died. Not to mention the dreadful state Kaori Oribe was in. I was told their relationship had gotten worse. Maybe the wolves are taking out those who were closest to the MC? Maybe? Chiemi? I don't know. Kaori-san was in no state to prepare food, so it was likely that no one had anything to eat today. The hunger would only worsen everyone's morale. It was best for them to prioritize getting a proper meal tomorrow. Even so, there was no guarantee we wouldn't get any more irregular deaths. For example, someone at their wits' end could attack a wolf suspect, despite the threat of the corruption. If they ended up losing more humans while the number of wolves stayed the same, the humans would be done for either tomorrow or the day after. Escape. I'd been entertaining the idea since lunch. The path was ruined, and I'd have to travel through an undeveloped grove, but I hadn't run into anything supernatural there when searching for Haru-chan. Maybe I could get out as long as I watched where I was going. I also had Saranaga as another option. Everyone here hated it, but that just made it less likely for me to be caught. Going down a misty rocky cliff was dangerous, but at least it was a one-way road. I just had to be careful I didn't get taken by the currents, and it was definitely better than just staying here and dying. However, perhaps even suggesting that was dangerous. Glasses Dude did say Mochi is telling you weird things when talking about Chiemi. According to Rikako Uematsu, the effects of the corruption were limited to the one who broke the laws, so you could escape them by killing yourself. However, if someone said they wanted to escape the village, the punishment would likely go to both the one attempting it as well as the ones who allowed it. The escape would surely become a hell of an experience then. However, there was an optimistic view of this situation. Something was actually here. Something abnormal was here in Yasumizu, killing and menacing its people using abnormal methods. At the very least, Yoshitsugu Oribe, who went to face it, suffered a horrible death. The superstitions weren't baseless, and it was best to look at the situation from that angle. My plan of escape contradicted that. But then, how could I prepare for whatever was to come? The best I could think of was trying to familiarize myself with Fujiyoshi's superstitions. Perhaps I could find some sort of weak point or hint that could lead me to their identity? The action rhyme they did was obviously referring to the Feast of the Yomi Purge. I couldn't remember all the lyrics, but I felt like there was quite a lot of info there. Perhaps there were more hints for the feast in Yasumizu's culture and general area. I felt I had to talk to Rikako Uematsu. She was an adult who seemed more involved in Fujiyoshi's prayers and stuff than most. I needed to arm myself with more info by tomorrow morning. That, along with the proper progression of the feast, were my only ways to survive. About today's feast. They must have decided to hang the wolf guy because they just didn't care about him at all that much. Simple as that. Sure, it was important to get rid of the participants who weren't cooperative. However, the fact that we lost 6 people, but they still hadn't gone beyond he or she is kinda shady was pretty bad. Yesterday, they wouldn't have hung anyone for such a petty reason. Well, the problem was that they hadn't hung anyone at all so far. But then again, it wouldn't be a good thing to give the impression it was okay to kill people just for seeming shady. This place was regressing back to a feudal, superstitious mental state. If there was something that could stop them from sinking there, it would be an outsider like me. I steeled my resolve and waited for the night to pass. I was so startled by the voice on the other side of the door that I momentarily screamed. What time is it? 7? It was too early for an attack and too late to walk around.
どうしたんだ君は。もう寝てないと天罰が下るんじゃないのか。
いやー、多分あと1時間くらいは大丈夫だよ。昨日も8時くらいまでは起きてて何もなかったし。正直毎日寝すぎでしてね。寝は足りてる一方でお腹が空いてどうにもこうにもね。
備蓄は？
香織さんがあんな状況だとみんなで分け合うべきかなって思って、みんな今日はお腹空かせてるしね、付き合おうかって思って。
How upstanding.
春明さんは食べていいと思うよ。
昼のやつ？いや、やめとく。ところで何の用？
だから気を紛らわせるために。
本当にそれだけ？
春明さん、私のこと疑ってる？
いや。
Oh, they all have to sleep by a certain time? I think so. Yeah, they can't be awake. That's part of the
なんで？
rules.
猿のことを言ったから、自分でちゃんと理解した上で。
True.
読み意味の宴は非常によくできたコミュニケーションゲームだ。
よくできたって？
コミュニケーション以外の方法でゲームに勝つことをほとんど封じてるって意味だけど、近持くんも言ってたよ。これに勝つには人も狼もコツというか独自のセオリーを要する。猿もその一つだ。何の役に立つか分かりづらいけど、実はいきなり容疑者を2名も減らせるわけだ。これは1日目から可能だから、猿は安全なリーダーになれる。モッチーとメイコには厳しそうだけど。
So then that makes bleached hair dude's death especially interesting.
そうだね。自由人とお子様じゃな。
一方で、狼はどちらかといえば受け身なセオリーになるんだと思う。怪しいだけでくくられる状況下では、あくまで怪しまれないことが重要になるわけだが、これは結構難しい。
そうだね。黙ってても雄弁でも怪しく見えるときは見えるし。
そうだね。ただごく初期の段階でも信用と不信を分ける2つの要素がある。
それが猿のことに関係するの？
Hey there, you're in for an awesome VN. If this is your first time playing it, it's my favorite for now. It is my first time, and it's really interesting.
ああ、要は間違った誘導をすることと有用な提言をしないことだ。間違った誘導については、例えば間違った計算でみんなを煙に巻いた清之助氏あたりは結構怪しい。
でも彼は人確定でしょ？
その通り。まあ匠さんがヘビってのが嘘じゃないって仮定の上の話だけど。
嘘だって可能性あるの？
ゼロじゃないさ。だって過誤を受けたかどうかなんて口ではいくらでも言える。というか例えば僕が狼なら何人か殺した後で適当な過誤者を名乗って安全な座席を確保するね。
なるほど。でも匠兄ちゃんは初日にいきなり名乗ったよ。
That could have been a misplay.
そうなんだよな。自殺行為に近いけど結果雲に守られることを考えれば痛みを伴う有効打だったのかな。ともかく確かにそうなると匠さんと清之助氏は信頼していいと思う。
Okay.
さらに僕の中では猿の使い方についてちゃんと発信した。君もね。
春明さんのその意図を見抜いて黙ってるのを諦めたのかもよ。
おお、それは困るな。
ということは猿のことを教えてくれた時点ではちえみのこと疑ってたってことですよな。
あ、気づいた。
なんつ
He's
う
smart.
男、好感度だ。
信じたかったから鎌かけたんだよ。
回復。
Nice. Woohoo.
ということは一番怪しいのは誰？
はるちゃん。
やっぱりか。
さすがにちょっと説明になってないし、2日目で態度が変わった理由も実の祖父を殺したからで説明できる。あるいは他の狼の肝臓師を殺す決定に同意できず誰も信用できなくなった。
Ah, that might be true too.
ああ、確かにありそう。
You could make up 1,000 reasons like this, though. We couldn't go on by just that. They said Haru hadn't gathered many votes, but they treated her like some kind of pariah, making it clear that everyone suspected her. It was only natural to use the snake to check on her. Yeah.
まあ彼女はそんなにゲームとか得意じゃなさそうだから有用な提言をしないの原則で判断するのはかわいそうだけど。
You could, in theory, play Secret Squirrel, give one person one set of info and see what they do with it. That's true too.
それで言うなら安永くんの方がもっと怪しい。
でもヤスくんいっぱいいろいろ言ったよ。日数計算が間違ってることとか。
Oh, I really got to go to the washroom. Be right back. Vibing to the BGM or falling to sleep to it. More like convulsing. Seems like they got me. My head is about to explode from figuring this out. Okay.
それに今春明さんが言ったようなことも言ってた。何もしないのが間接的に狼を利しているだっけ。それに初日雲が隠れてた方がいいってことも。
そうなんだよね。
Though most of those things were minor, he was definitely contributing to the game. The first day was especially important. For the wolves, it was best to create a flow where they could just stay quiet and wait for those with guardians to out themselves. What bothered me was the fact that he wasn't the one who brought up leader selection and the monkey thing. He was shady because he hadn't made those useful propositions. Oh, because he'd figured that he would have noticed that really early too. I thought he'd figured those things out a while ago, or maybe I, as an outsider, just had a better grasp of the situation because he had like a cooler head, maybe?
となると彼はやっぱり白かな。あとはわからないね。植松里香子さんやタエさんは何考えてるかわからないし。
そうだね。
But if you looked at the circumstances outside the feast, Rikako Uematsu was pretty shady. It always felt like she was hinting at something. It wouldn't have surprised me if she knew more than she let on. You saw the warning about the streaming of this game? They officially only allow streaming until a certain point. Yeah, I turned on like the reminder and like a sheep is supposed to come out when you're not allowed. If she was a village head, she could know things only those from Kamifujiyoshi knew. There was more than enough reason to suspect her. If only we could follow that lead and solve this whole thing, it'd make things way easier.
春明さんさ、現状を楽しんでない？
ないよ。
でもこういうミステリーみたいなのって好きそう。
それは否定しないけど、さすがに自分や大事な人の命がかかっている時に楽しむ気分にはなれないな。それこそ探偵を気取ってみても素人には何も分かりはしない。無力感だけさ。
あんまりそうは見えないな。
なぜこんなに疑われているのだろう。
他のみんなボロボロだよ。普通の人はああやって平常心を失っていくことだと思う。
それは君についても言えるんじゃない？
私も普通じゃないですし。
そういえば人を殺しかけたとか聞いたけど。
誰かな、バラしたのは。
それは秘密。まあそんなに悪意のある感じには聞こえなかったけど。
まあなんと言いますか、中学の時かな、安水の子らをいじめてた分校の上級生らをバットでボッコボッコ。
うわ。
その中に長者の筋のやつもいたから大騒ぎになっちゃってね。まあそれで年が上の人たちは私に厳しいんだ。
なるほど。正義の武闘派ってわけだ。
So she was sent to Yasumizu for making enemies out of the village heads.
いやー、まあ単に血の気が多くて問題を起こしたかっただけですよ。
反抗期？
そんな感じ。はるちゃんやよしくんと同じよ。こんな田舎だとやすくんみたいにまっすぐ育つ方が珍しいんじゃない？
そうかな。ひねた都会よりも健全で素直な子に育ちそうだけど。
言い直す。こんなに貧しいとだわ。
Oh. Well, there was no doubt that Yasumizu was destitute. There were no cars, cell phones, and it didn't even feel like it had an economy. They probably lived mostly off the land, making money from whatever they could spare from their farms and hunts. Yeah, but please continue on your own after it. The warning comes at 1 out of 4. January 4th, or maybe January 3rd. At most of the game. And the last route, it's pure gold. A lot of things only come to light there. I do plan on continuing it after, and I should be able to play it a lot faster off stream too. Since they had no decent way to sell stuff to anyone outside, most of their business had to be done through Kamifujiyoshi. It was entirely likely they were ripping them off. No way this place could be wealthy in these circumstances. I didn't believe that money could buy everything, but poverty took its toll on the people suffering it. Some could live in poverty while retaining their purity, but that was borderline saintly. It was a lifestyle too difficult for the common masses. Also, since the people of Yasumizu were ostracized from Kamifujiyoshi, they were targets of unjust pressure from day one. I could understand why the children here strayed from the path. Oh, 1/4 of the game? Oh, okay. Though when you looked at it like that, the way they strayed was so mild, it was almost cute. I guess January 3rd and January 4th makes no sense because we're already in May.
いや、別に。
嘘だ。いざとなったらドンキ持ち出すような女。内心ドン引きでしょドンキだけに。
A blunt object. That's how Kanzo died. I'm just going to ignore that poor attempt at a pun, sorry.
前の彼女もそんなだったし。
へえ、そうなんだ。
なぜか動揺されてしまった。
彼女さんと別れたって実は？
嘘だと思われてたのか。
Why would you say that specifically, right? That's a really poor taste joke.
正直、ナンパの口実かと。
ひで。それはもう身の危険を感じるレベルの大喧嘩を経て破局しましたよ。
He almost got beat up.
君の方は？男性遍歴。僕は言ったんだから君も言うべきじゃない？
まあその。
実際に付き合ったのは何人なんですか
？2人かな。
Is this the bite of 87? The Jack. Hiei Rin, welcome to the stream.
知恵姉はモテモテで53人切りの超絶ビッチだって話はどこへ行った？
そこまで言ってない。多少持ったのは認めるが、実際大学で各種お誘いはいっぱいもらってますけども。
なのに二人ぽっちなんだ。
まああんまり会う人っていなくてさ。
There are 0 animatronics here, sorry. Unless.
僕は？
これ以上やめとこうよ。期待したら死ぬのが怖くなる。
True. Okay.
死ぬのが怖いのは当然じゃない？
別に。
どうして？
死ぬより神様の方が怖い。
君の言う神様は一般にイメージするそれと違うよね。
どこが？
それは何やら恐ろしいもので実際に会えるものなんだろう。
Oh. Yeah, I don't know anything about Five Nights at Friday. Wait. Five Nights at Freddy's?
みんな神様には会ってるよ。見えていないのかもしれないけど。それに神様は怖いよ。みんな怖さを知らないだけ。
僕も見えてない、知らないだけ。
あなただけはわからない。だから私はあなたを失うのは怖いかもしれない。
Oh, bye, Alejandro.
そんな言葉、永遠の愛を誓った相手にでも言えばいい。
怒った？
ちょっとね。
そっか。
この段になっても思わせぶりなだけで何の手の内も開示しないのは火遊びが過ぎるんじゃないの？
私もどうすればいいのかわからないし迷ってるんだよ。
全部話してみればいい。
もう帰るね。
ちえみ。
おやすみ。
What the hell? Why didn't she talk? Did she still not trust me? Was she messing with me? Was she just kind of crazy? Or was it something else? Crap, I wanted to chase her down and get a real answer out of her, but I was locked in. This was so frustrating. Though, this wasn't the time to worry about that. Who would the wolves go for tonight? had a lot of fun getting all the bad endings. How the game is structured, you can see them without having to be saved all the time. Or without having to be saving all the time. Asking someone to tell you everything is kind of an ask. Yeah, I felt like he was a bit entitled there. The wolf guy was dead, meaning there was one less person who'd vote Chiemi out tomorrow. It wasn't likely she'd get top vote. It was best to think that the wolves would go for someone who was useful to the humans and couldn't be killed with the votes. That meant that she and Yasunaga-kun were the ones at highest risk. On the other hand, their survival would make things difficult in other ways. I'd probably be forced to consider the possibility that they themselves were wolves. Could I really trust Chiemi? I felt I could, but not completely. Whatever the case, a situation where the more talkative ones were seen as suspicious would make it harder for her to survive. Should I have talked to her about running away? No, that was probably pointless. I didn't know much about her whole god thing, but it was clear that escape wasn't even an option for her. Something scary that everyone had met, yet not fully perceivable. Was she speaking figuratively, or could she literally see something? You know, if she was scared of God, God could, like, force her to kill people as the wolf. I became irritated. My hunger was starting to get to me. Figuring it was better than just wasting my mental energy, I focused on taking a bath and going to bed. I had no idea just how naive my predictions would prove to be. Alright, we're gonna stop here. It's getting pretty late and hangry. That was interesting though. Hold on, let me turn on my ending music. Let's do a little bit of a recap, actually. So, what happened? So, first, we discovered Kanzo got murdered by the werewolves, and then Yoshitsugu died to the corruption. Okay, and then after that, I don't think this ending music is going to be long enough. Hold on. Let me pull up like another music. Another background music. We'll do this one. Okay. Okay, so Kanzo murdered by the werewolves. And then Yoshitsugu, for some reason, was out and got murdered by the corruption. Or died through the corruption. After that, let's see. We had Haru Makishima try to run away, and we brought her back with Mochi, and then they started the feast. The feast was both Chiemi and the old man were tied. So then they voted out the old man, and the old man asked to gather his belongings, and Mochi was asked to look after him. While they went out to get his belongings all sorted out, they died, and when they found the body, their stomachs were slashed open and their blood was like drained. That feels like that would take a while, but an hour later they were found, their bodies were found, and there was no sight of the murder weapon. All right, and then after that, I guess they decided to vote or to look into Haru Makishima because she was suspicious. And then we had this conversation with Chiemi, and we're gonna find out who the werewolves pick this time. I think that's a okay recap. I mean, I'm pretty bad at these, huh? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'm pretty excited to play this again next week. I'll try to do it at the same time next week. But I'll catch you then. Let's cut in. Bye bye. Catch you next time. This one.